Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Gromit, and welcome to the very last part in this video guide on how to complete the Criminal Mastermind challenge for the GTA Online heists. In this video we're going to be looking at the final heist, the Pacific Standard job, and I'd say this one's probably the hardest one out of all the heists to complete, as there are quite a few missions where you're going to really struggle to not die, but we'll get to those in a minute. So this heist is split up into 5 setup missions. Some of them are really easy, there's like no risk in them at all like the first one. And then you'll have the main heist, which is not too bad if you do it right. So to start off with, we'll go straight to the first setup mission, and this is vans. You have to locate multiple vans around the map using an app on your phone, and then take a picture of the license plate for Leicester to tell you which one's the right one, and then you take it back to Leicester's warehouse. So in terms of vehicles, you want something that gets fairly fast, and most importantly something that's low to the ground, so that when you're inside the car you can easily take a picture of the license plates of the trucks. If you're in a vehicle that's too tall, then you won't be able to see over the hood. You'll have to be really far away to be able to see it. So just bear that in mind when you're picking the vehicle. But you aren't going to have any enemies coming after you if you do it right. Maybe if you mess up a little bit at the end, you'll have the cops come after you, but it shouldn't be anything too difficult. So you're going to be split into 2 teams. So pair off and get into the vehicles you want to get into. 2 people to each vehicle. And one person's going to sit in the passenger seat and they're going to have an app on their phone, and they have to locate where the vans are. So you basically have to head to the dot on the map, and basically in the app you'll just see a flashing dot on the radar sort of icon, so you just have to head towards that, tell the driver where to go. And the vans come up for both teams, so make sure that you aren't heading to the same one, trying to split off and do them separately so you can get through them faster. Basically you just need to find all the vans and take a picture of the license plates. And when you photographed all of the license plates and find all the vans, then Leicester will let you know which one you need to steal. So drive to that van, and best way of doing it is to just pull the driver out of the van, as this way you won't get a wanted level, or you shouldn't do, which means you can just drive straight back to the warehouse. But you can, if it's easier, just shoot the driver and then lose the cops and go to the warehouse if you'd rather do that. Either way, it doesn't really matter. And that's the first setup done. It's really easy, there's no enemies really that come after you. Second setup mission's a bit harder. This one's Signal, and you basically have to rescue Avi Schwartzman. He's from an island down the sea, and there's a bunch of cops there, and then you have to take him by boat to the drop-off point, and you'll have loads of cops and FBI and stuff coming after you. So it can be quite hard, to make sure you have armour for this. But the first thing you have to do is head out to the jet skis on the beach, and then once you get on the jet skis it's quite a long drive to get out to the island. But when you do get to the island, you'll see there's quite a lot of cops around there. You have to clear out the entire island. So just take it fairly slow, stay in cover as much as you can, and just take everybody out. And then when it's completely clear, there's a little hut in the middle of the island. Head over to that and you'll open the door and you'll find Avi Schwartzman inside. So you rescue him and he'll get into the boat. You can either all get into the boat or get on some of the jet skis as well if you wanted. And then drive the boat sort of slightly to the right down that river there under the bridge. And that river will lead you basically all the way to the drop-off point. And it's up to you what you'd rather do, but you can get out of the boat onto the beach and get a vehicle. You used to be able to call for your armoured vehicles or your personal vehicles, but it seems like they've patched that now, so you can't do that. But if you do pull up to the beach, if you just go a little bit further down the river than we did, there's a little spot on the beach where vehicles always spawn, so you can just grab whatever's there. And it's a little bit easier driving on the road rather than being in a boat, but it's up to you whichever way you'd prefer. You can either take a vehicle or stay in the boat and then get off right by the drop-off point. But you basically just have to get near the drop-off point and they'll tell you to lose your wanted level. So the best way is just go off-road, go up the hill or something. It's quite hard to lose your wanted level because you have a lot of helicopters coming after you. So just try your best, do whatever works. We found that driving up the hill worked best, even though it was still quite hard to do it. And once you've lost your wanted level, head to the drop-off point, which is a little barn. And that's the end of the setup mission done. So this one is pretty hard, but it's not as hard as the later setup missions. They're going to be a lot harder. But as long as you have armour, you shouldn't have too much trouble with this. The only hardest part is just losing your wanted level at the end. But that is it for the second setup mission. The third setup mission is vans, and this one is fairly straightforward, but there is a bit towards the end that can be quite difficult if you don't do it right. But the first thing you need to do is drive to Leicester's warehouse, where you're going to pick up the first van, and then drive over to the location marked on the map. And there's going to be a whole bunch of guys in this area, and you need to clear out all of them. There'll be guys on the ground, guys up on rooftops as well. There are a number of ways you can sort of go about it. You can have like 2 people going on the ground, and 2 people are up on the roof if you wanted. There's also 3 ways of getting into this alleyway area, so you can attack from 3 different directions if you wanted, but just be careful of where you're running and make sure you don't get shot by someone up on a rooftop that you haven't seen. So just keep your eyes open and take out any threats that you see. Then once the entire area is clear, you can get the van that you came in and drive it right to the back of the alleyway where there's a black van and just park it next to it. And then it will trigger a cutscene where you basically swap over the hacking device from one van to the other. And now depending on what team you're on, you have to get into the van that it tells you to get into. But you'll have 3 people getting into the black van and 1 person getting in the white van. The black van is the decoy, they're going to take all the heat, and the white van is just going to get away, hopefully without anybody coming after them if you do it right. So the black van needs to drive off first, and as soon as they leave this alleyway area, they're going to have AI enemies coming after them. And if you're in the back of the black van, you need to stay inside, don't open the doors because you'll just get shot straight away. And it is really easy to get shot at this point, so make sure you're wearing your armour. Have the armour menu open as well so you can keep putting it on. And you basically just follow the same route that they tell you to follow, but don't crash into anything, don't slow down at all. Just absolutely floor it straight to the drop off point, and you shouldn't have too much trouble that way. The only way that they're going to shoot you is if you slow down or crash or something, then they'll just pull up next to you and they'll kill you like really fast. So just keep your speed up all the way and you should be okay. If you're in the white van, just wait for the other team to leave. Wait until all the red dots of the enemies have disappeared off the map, and then it's clear, and then you can drive out and you shouldn't get anybody chase after you at all. And you just drive back to Lester's warehouse and that's the setup complete. Now the 4th setup mission is Ambush, where you have to go to a bridge out in Sandy Shores and ambush a convoy. So with this one I'd recommend Insurgents, as they're very big and heavy and you can use them to block off the road and the convoy won't be able to push through them. So head out to the bridge, and it will take quite a while. It's a bit of a drive, especially if you're in these Insurgents, they're a bit slow. But when you do get to the bridge, then use the Insurgents to block it off. Try and block it off as best as you can so there aren't any gaps, there's no way for the convoy to get through. You can double layer them as well, so you can have 2 Insurgents in the front and 2 in the back, and that'll make it harder for them to push through. If you want, you can place a couple of sticky bombs on the bridge in certain places, but just make sure you're careful when you get in because you don't want to blow up the army truck that's coming. But you can use them to blow up any of the Merryweather jeeps if you time it just right. But once you've parked up the Insurgents, then you need to run up the hill, and this will give you the best vantage point for when the convoy arrives. And after a few seconds, a helicopter will spawn out in the distance, so you want everybody to equip the heavy sniper and just absolutely bombard this helicopter with sniper rounds, and it will blow up really quick before it even gets anywhere near you. So you can completely eliminate that threat before the convoy even gets to you, which makes this a whole lot easier. And then if you look down at the dirt road, you'll be able to see when the convoy's coming, and you can take pot shots at them if you want. You can hit them through the windshield and stuff, which will just thin them out and make it a bit easier when they finally arrive at your roadblock. And then they'll hit your roadblock and they'll all get bunched up on the bridge, and then just use your sniper rifles to take them all out. You can use your sticky bombs if you put them down to take out the Merryweather jeeps, but just make sure you don't blow up the army truck or the Insurgent, because you can use that later and that's helpful. But just snipe everybody on the bridge, make sure there's nobody left. And be careful because they will sort of hide behind the vehicles, and it'll be very hard to see them, and you don't want to accidentally run into them and get killed. And then once you've taken everybody out, you can climb over the Insurgents, and then one person can get in the army truck and the other people can get in the Insurgent. So that's why you don't want to blow the Insurgent up, because you can now use it against them and escort the truck to the drop off point using the big gun on the top. So just turn the vehicles around and head in the other way, the way the convoy came from. And then when you get to the first hill, you just want to stop up there. Everybody can get out of their vehicles, get their heavy snipers, because there's a bunch of helicopters coming after you now. So you should have 3 people with heavy snipers or RPGs and someone on the gun on the Insurgent. And then just watch the mini-map to see where the helicopters are coming from and take them out as they get close to you. If you don't take them out soon enough, they will be a real problem for you, because they can just fire a rocket and blow up a vehicle and kill your team instantly pretty much. So you really want to take them out before they get close enough to fire at you. And there will be 3 helicopters that come after you at this point. You might need to move up the road a little bit to trigger the others. But once you've taken those out, you're clear to carry on moving again. So you can carry on up the road and you'll have a bunch of Merryweather jeeps coming after you. And just like in the setups to the Humane Labs where you stole the Insurgents, you can either aim for the tyres, the engine block, or the people inside is the best way of taking out the vehicles coming after you. And also, it doesn't matter what position you're in, you can all have the armor menu open, and keep applying armor when you get hit. And then when you get to this sharp left corner, so leave the army truck behind you just around the corner, and then send out the insurgent around the corner to take out all the guys with the roadblock. And it's easier if you take these guys out before the army truck goes through, because otherwise you'll get stuck or you'll get slowed down, and it's really easy for them to shoot you at that point. So it's best to just clear them out. So it's best to just stay back and clear them out before you try and drive through. But then once you've gotten through that roadblock, you just drive straight to the drop-off point. Just watch out for the few Merryweather Jeeps that are still going to be coming after you. There won't be any more helicopters though after this point. But just keep on driving and get the army truck back to the barn where the drop-off point is. And that is the 4th setup mission complete. And this one isn't too bad. The only hard part really is the helicopters. They can really screw you over really fast. So just make sure that you take those helicopters out as soon as you can, so they don't cause you any problems. And then you can move on to the 5th and final setup mission. So if you are at this point and you still haven't died yet, you're still going for the challenge, then you're almost there. There's only a couple missions left. But this next setup mission is definitely one of the hardest by far. And this is where you have to steal the bikes from the Lost MC. So it doesn't matter which vehicle you take for this, but you need to head over to the Lost MC Clubhouse near the city. And once you get there, you need to take out all of the motorcycle club members there. So you can either go to the main entrance, or you can sneak around the back and come at them from multiple angles. Usually works quite well. You can also get up on the roof of the main clubhouse and get a better advantage on them. And then when the entire area has been cleared out, you can now hop onto the bikes that you're going to be stealing. And if you are low on armor, there's actually a garage that opens, and there'll be some armor in there that you can take if you need it. And now you're clear to drive them back to the drop-off point. And this is definitely the hardest part. This is the point where it really comes down to quite a bit of luck to get through this without dying, as it's really easy to get shot. So the most important thing is don't follow the route that they tell you to follow, because there's absolutely loads of enemies down it. So instead, when you come out of the clubhouse, drive straight on and take the next right instead, and you should have less enemies coming after you that way. And also you can open up the armor menu as well and keep putting armor on like you've done in the previous setups. If you do get into if you are getting shot at quite a lot, there's quite a lot of enemies around, then you can click the left stick and that'll give you a quick boost, and you can charge that up by braking and cornering, and that's the little yellow bar in the bottom left that shows you how much boost you have left. And it is quite a short distance that you have to drive, so it's not too bad, but just absolutely make sure you don't fall off the bike at any point, because then you'll get shot so easily. And avoid all the trucks that are trying to ram you as well. I would say try and stick together, as it's probably a bit easier, but usually people just go off on their own anyway, or people are faster than others, so it usually doesn't work out. But if one of your teammates does fall off their bike, then I'd recommend just sort of staying near them, try and like circle around, keep moving so you don't get shot too badly, but just try and stay with them and cover them, because they won't be able to fire or anything while they lay on the ground. So just cover them as best you can, and hopefully they can get on their bike without dying. And then head over to the drop-off point, and hopefully you've all made it there. And then just park the bikes in the markers, and that's his mission complete. And that's the final setup as well, so you're now ready to move on to the main heist. So for the main actual heist, there's quite a lot of people that have come up with theories and the best ways of doing it, but also a lot of those methods they've said have actually now been patched. Like, as far as I know, you can't get a helicopter anymore, which used to be the way of doing it. But there are quite a few ways of going about doing the escape part. But to start with, the best thing to do is to make sure that the heist goes as smooth as possible. So the main thing for this is for the crowd control people to keep everybody under control, and don't shoot any civilians or anything. Try and keep them all alive, because if the alarm goes off, then it will trigger SWAT units to arrive at the bank, which will make it a lot harder to escape. But if you can do the whole thing without setting off the alarm until the very end, then you'll only get regular cops appearing, which they're a lot easier to take out. So keep the crowd under control, and the demolitions person has to use thermal charges to get through all the metal gates. Then when you head down the stairs into the vault, there'll be two guys or one guy at the bottom of those stairs, so make sure you take those guys out. And they're really easy to take out, and you aren't going to do too much, but if you don't know they're there and you run into them, then they can shoot you quite easily and do quite a lot of damage. Then once the two doors are open and you've gone downstairs, then the hacker needs to hack the terminal and open the vault door. So let them get on with that, and as soon as they start hacking, people will start spawning at the very top of the stairs. So the demolition person now can head back up the stairs and up to the very top floor, and there should be 2 or 3 people come out of the office door at the top. So just take those guys out before they get down to the hacker, or before they start shooting at the crowd control team. Then after you've done that, the vault door should be open by now, and you can get in there and open the final door with the thermal charge. And once that's open, then you want one person to grab all the money. So this way, if one person has all the money, only if they get shot will they lose money. If you have 2 people carrying the money, then twice the chances of losing money when they get shot. But if you are going for the $10 million, if you are going for the Criminal Mastermind challenge, then you don't really need to worry about that so much, because you're going to get 10 million after this. So grab all the money, and hopefully the alarms doesn't go off at this point. So grab the money, head upstairs, and then you're ready to leave the building now. So group up near the door, where I'll trigger a bit of a cutscene. And now if you are worrying about keeping the money safe, then the person with the money can stay in the bank, or the other 3 clear the street. And once you've taken everybody out of there when it's fairly clear, you can head over to the alleyway and hide in there. When you get into the alleyway, there'll be a bunch of cops in front of you, and as soon as you get in, there'll be cops spawning behind you as well from the alleyway. So make sure you have people facing both directions to keep everybody covered. And then you'll turn right, go down another bit of an alleyway, and you get to a point where you have to cross the road. As soon as people cross the road, a cop car will spawn from the right and pull in front of you, so you have to take those guys out as well. But keep heading towards the bikes, where you parked them last time. So just take your time, make sure you got every angle covered so cops don't come up behind you or anything. And watch out for helicopters as well, you don't want them to take you out. You can take them out with a rocket launcher or just shoot the pilot out of them. Then when you get to the bikes, there'll be 2 crates just behind them, and you can shoot those, and there's a whole bunch of body armor in there if you need to refill it. So everybody needs to get onto a bike to trigger the next part. And now for this bit, the escape part, there's so many ways of going about doing it. You can just do it on the bikes if you want, but you are quite exposed. But the bikes are decently fast, so you can get through the cops fairly easily. But at the later stages, when you get near the boat, it's quite easy for them to just ram you off the bike and kill you quite easily. Another way of doing it is to get your personal vehicles. So you can't call for them or anything, but if you drive to your apartment or your garage, then you can go into the garage if the cops aren't looking, and you can get your personal vehicle out of there. So you could have a crewman in your garage, you can actually take that, which makes it really easy if you can get to your garage without the cops seeing you. But the only downside is your teammates won't be able to get into your personal vehicle, so everybody will have to get their own personal vehicle, and you obviously have to drive all the way to your garage and make sure that there aren't any cops there. You can actually buy the garage just right next to where the bikes are parked as well. So I guess the easiest way would be for all 4 of you to buy that garage and have a crewman in there. Then you just drive out of the place where the bikes are parked, turn right and go straight into the garage, and you can get your car out of there. And then once you're in Armoured, crewmans, it's completely really simple to get to the end. It's basically impossible for you to get shot. People have said that there are ways you can get helicopters, but I think all of those methods have been patched now, you can't do it anymore. But the easiest way, I think, in my opinion, if you don't want to buy a garage and buy a Karuma, is to just find the first 4-door vehicle you can get and everybody get into it. So you have 1 person driving and 3 people shooting, and that seems to be quite an effective method. You can get into the SWAT vans as well, which seems like a good idea because they're very armoured, but they are quite slow and you are on a time limit to get to the boat. So usually you don't have time to drive them all the way there because they're too slow. So I'd recommend getting into the first 4-door car you can find and then driving straight to the boat. You can just drive straight to the boat as well, you don't have to follow the markers through the hills like it tells you to. So I would recommend following the marker all the way up to the point where you get to by the bridge where you did the ambush setup previously, and then take a left and basically follow the river all the way down until you find the boat. I definitely wouldn't recommend parachuting off the mountain because it's so easy to die from doing that if you can't open your parachute or something. But once you get to the boat, hopefully you're all still together, and then make sure the area is fairly clear before you get out of the car or before you try and run for the boat. Get in the boat and drive down the river and get to the marker, and that'll be the heist complete. So those are the best ways of going about doing the escape part. It's still going to be really hard no matter how you do it. So to make sure you're wearing all your armour, and you can have the armour menu open as well when you're driving, and just keep constantly using armour and health and snacks to stop yourself from dying on the way there. And hopefully if you've got a good driver and some good gunmen, you should be able to pull this off. But it's probably best if you get lots of practice in before you try and do this challenge. So like just keep doing the mission over and over again until you can do it almost every time without dying. So that way you don't have to go through every single heist and then die at the very end and have to start all over again. You should be good enough to do it anyway. And hopefully you'll be able to do this without dying, and then that's the challenge complete. So congratulations if you've done it. You've just got $10 million to spend in GTA Online. And if you want, you can now actually create a new character and do it again if you wanted and get another 10 million. And you can just keep doing it over and over again if you create new characters, if you really wanted to and you wanted that much money. But that is how me and my friends did the challenge. So just follow all the steps and follow all the instructions in these videos, and hopefully you shouldn't have too much trouble with it, and hopefully you should be able to pull this off. but it is a hard achievement. I wouldn't be surprised if it takes you a couple of attempts before you finally do it. But now you can just enjoy the money that you've got, buy all the new heist vehicles and stuff, and fully customize your cars and that, or whatever you want to do with the money. So that's it for this video, and that's it for the entire guide on this series. I hope you found these videos helpful. So I've been Gromit, and thanks for watching. And if you do have any questions, then leave them in the comments below and I'll try and answer them.